Well, thank you for joining today's Code Ninjas conference call. My name is Marty Flanagan. I am the Vice President of Franchising here with Code Ninjas, and we host these calls, or I host these calls every week, every Friday to help give you a better understanding of Code Ninjas, kind of where we're going, what's happening. If you've listened to these calls in the past, you know that the first about 15 minutes is me giving you this quick overview of Code Ninjas, and then we move into what we call our Q&A section, where you're able to ask any questions that you have regarding Code Ninjas. These calls typically have anywhere from 30 to 50 attendees. The Q&A segment can last 10 minutes. It could last an hour. It really just comes down to what questions you're looking to have answered and however long those questions take. So we definitely can spend a lot of time there. But again, my name is Marty Flanagan. I am the Vice President of Franchising here with Code Ninjas, and I host these calls every week for the U.S., Canada, and the UK to be able to help give you some better insight on Code Ninjas, what's going on, what's happening, and why so many people and entrepreneurs, parents, and students are coming to Code Ninjas. And to kind of give you a starting place with that, David Graham, who is the founder and CEO of Code Ninjas, Bert Sensipon, and myself started Code Ninjas in October of 2016. Prior to that, David Graham owned a school called Coder Camps, which was an adult vocational school that taught adults how to code. Prior to that, he was a franchisee, a part of one of the world's largest franchising systems, and actually helped write their software. So he was able to actually be a franchisee and be a part and get insight of franchising, which is why Code Ninjas is a franchise, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But to kind of give you a little bit better of a story, understanding the background of David Graham, being an entrepreneur for 25 years, being a coder and programmer for 25 plus years, moving into this vocational world and teaching adults how to code was a natural fit for him, and it was a very big success. He had that company for about 4.5 years that operated in 18 different cities before he sold that. Now, when he did sell that, that moved on to now become part of WozU, which is that Wozniak group, co-founder of Apple, so it kind of went off that direction, and he was able to put a lot more focus on Code Ninjas. And the reason that came up is because there wasn't a week that went by that he wasn't getting asked questions about the younger generation and how does the younger generation get involved in coding? How can they learn? What can they do? The benefit, and as week after week after week went by and he kept hearing it, he continued to do research. Looking at the market, being a father of 2 young boys, he himself was interested, so he continued to do this research on the market and see what was out there that really brought the younger generation into this kind of thinking, the core skills that make a great coder. And this whole world, since it's going to be a part of their future, it is a good idea to get a good understanding of how they can learn early. And he was shocked at what he found, and lack of what he found, I should say, and the idea of Code Ninjas started to develop. So in October of 2016, after he had sold his past company, Bert Sensipon and myself, came aboard to build Code Ninjas as a company and as a franchise. So when you look at, we launched in March of 2017. So just a few months after I started building, that's when we actually opened our first location, was in March of 2017. That is also the month we sold our first franchisee. The first franchisee came aboard and purchased their territory. So we sold quite a few locations before we had one open, and those franchisees are still with us to this day, and they've really been a huge part of how we've developed as a brand. Since March of 2017, we have now about 285 franchisees, 550 plus sold locations across the U.S., Canada, and the UK. Currently have 200 locations open, and in Canada we have a few territories left. That's almost sold. It's an almost sold out market. The UK we just launched about 7 months ago, and we already have 13 franchisees. By the end of the year, we'll have close to 20 locations sold inside the UK, which is an amazing start considering here in the US it was double that time. So why the buzz? Why is it all getting crazy? And why has it been such a validating response from the marketplace? We get 20 to 30 inquiries a day between the US and Canada and the UK. Pretty amazing, and the constant influx of individuals, entrepreneurs looking at different opportunities and choosing to go with Code Ninjas. We are the largest coding franchise in the world now. That took us less than 3 years to accomplish in terms of when we launched as a brand to today. Pretty amazing, pretty validating. We're not the only ones out there in the market doing this, but we are doing it much, much different and giving you much more opportunity in terms of you as an entrepreneur with your Code Ninjas. And how that really starts is coming back down to our core kind of set of beliefs and our business model and giving you multiple opportunities to grow your Code Ninjas business. It's not just about one way of doing things. They don't come in the front door and just have one opportunity to get involved in Code Ninjas. Families have multiple opportunities to be engaged in Code Ninjas. So it's not just this one way of doing it. So for an example, our different age groups of curriculum, we have our non-reading based curriculum, which is called Code Ninjas Junior. Code Ninjas Junior is a non-reading based program for 4 to 8 years old. Also could be used for some special needs. Then we also have our 7 to 14-year-old curriculum, which is our Code Ninjas Create. This will be your number one revenue source and also the longest curriculum we have, where they're going to learn, obviously, much, much more than just scratching the surface. They're really digging in deep. And we're going to talk more about that curriculum in depth here in a minute. Then we also do in the first quarter here next year, it looks like we'll have our Code Ninjas Pro, that curriculum ready to go. That's for 12 years and older, so that can go as old as long as you can use a keyboard, you can see it. So that's for 12 years and older. That'll be released probably here in the coming months. That's currently under beta test. We also do have our camps, our workshops. Camps and workshops can be taken out into the marketplace, by the way, as well. So yes, they have to be done inside your Code Ninjas, but you can also take them out into the community. So you can go into schools with our camps and workshops. You can go out. It's not just inside your center. We currently offer 14 different camps. That's pretty amazing. Gives you a lot of opportunity. We also here in the U.S. and in Canada, we have an after-school program. We have for all of U.S., Canada, and U.K., we have Parents' Night Out, and we also do birthday parties. So the only thing we don't do in the U.K. is that after-school program. It's a little bit different there with zoning and usages and everything, so it's a little bit different out there. But all the other programs we offer in all Code Ninjas. So it's not just one opportunity for a family to get involved. They have multiple opportunities to engage in Code Ninjas based on their budget, based on age, based on experience, based on convenience. There's multiple programs there for them, which we can talk more about, obviously, and dive in deep more of those if you have questions. But we'll talk about this Code Ninjas Create. We used to call it our drop-in program, our belt curriculum. The Code Ninjas Create is that 7 to 14-year-old curriculum. It's made up of 9 different belts. Within inside each belt is a learned set of skills and concepts. And at the end of each belt, students have to show their proficiency in those skills and concepts by building a game. That game is on what we call our game development platform, which is an LMS, a learning management system. It's like testing ground. It shows proficiency in skills and concepts that are learned within inside each belt. Now, every belt compounds and works together with the prior belt. So they all work together. It's called cumulative learning. So every belt that you get to has obviously a set of learned skills and concepts, and you come to the end, you have to show those proficiency. But that builds onto the prior belt as well. So they can't just start in the middle, but this is a self-paced program, so they're going to move through these belts faster, obviously, as they absorb those skills and abilities. This is not a classroom setting. This is a flexible learning system, so they're coming in at their parents' convenience, staying for an hour to 2 hours per week. So they can come in 1 day for 2 hours. They can come in 2 days for an hour each, depending on the program that they choose. They can even come up into 3 hours if the parents will choose to enroll in that program, or as low as 1 hour per week. So it really comes down to the parent, the budget, the time, the experience, and obviously the enjoyment factor. This has to be fun for kids. If you look at our motto from day one, is when kids have fun, parents see results. We've kept that in close view. We've kept that in focus. If kids aren't having fun, if kids aren't engaged, and having a great time while they're there and feeling like they're accomplishing something, they are not going to be motivated. They are going to leave. We have an incredible 8% month-over-month attrition right now in Code Ninjas. We keep the majority of our students month-over-month. Pretty amazing. Your Code Senseis are the ones coaching and teaching the Code Ninjas curriculum. So that curriculum I'm talking about is being taught or coached by Code Senseis. Code Senseis are typically 16 to 22 years old. And they would have, for the UK, an ICT background or robotics background. We call that computer science here in the US and Canada. They typically have that kind of a background. Now, when students are working through, this is a very personal, it's not a self-taught program. It's a self-paced program. So when students come in, they scan their wristband. It unlocks the security measure. They sit down at their computer. They log into their dashboard because all of our curriculum lives on our platform in the cloud. So they're going to access that through their dashboard. They're going to log in. They can see their progress. They can see what they've done. They can see what they've accomplished, what games they've built, how far they've come. They can show their parents as well. They can show their friends. So you can actually see it on their dashboard. So when they log into their dashboard, it's going to talk about their next lesson that they're going to do, and they're going to start working on that next lesson. Inside that lesson, as they work through it, they're going to come across problems. They're going to come across a situation where they really are maybe not aware how to move forward, or they can't figure it out. That problem-solving skill is not there. That's not developed. They're going to raise their hand. A Code Sensei is going to come work with them one-on-one to help them through that problem. And then, obviously, when they have that, they're going to continue to move on by themselves, and they're going to continue to work through that. This curriculum, like I said, is a self-paced, not self-taught program. It'll take about 3 years for a student to accomplish this by coming in about 2 hours per week for 7 to 14. Our students in this curriculum work through 3 different languages, so they're going to be working inside of JavaScript. They're going to be working inside of Lua. They're going to be working with C#. And they'll be learning the syntax of these. They're not just going to be cutting and pasting. They're typing in the lines of code. They're learning to navigate the keyboard. They're learning the XY axis. They're learning the internal pieces of how all this works. And they're working with, obviously, the syntax. So they're not mastering the syntax because that could take years and years and years and years to master one language. But they are building that skill set of what makes a great coder, those cognitive abilities, the problem solving, the critical thinking, the collaboration, the leadership, the time management, that problem identification skill set, and then working on identifying that problem and working through that problem and fixing that those skill sets, that's what makes a great coder. Not necessarily the language, but the skill sets behind a great coder, not the language. So we focus on those skill sets, those cognitive abilities, and at the same time, they're learning one of the most prolific languages on the market today, obviously, with JavaScript, and spending the majority of their time there. So the majority of this curriculum is proprietary and exclusive just to Code Ninjas. We have an exclusive robotics program. We have our proprietary textbooks. Obviously, the game development platform, that is built by us. It's owned by us. That is ours as well. So this is not something that somebody can just take and say, yeah, this is a great idea. I'm going to do this across the street. Not happening. This is an ongoing curriculum. It's a self-paced program, so students are not coming and being a part of a class or a lecture. They're coming in and working through this individually, and that's why it's that self-paced but not self-taught program. So this curriculum itself you're going to be really the number one focus inside of your Code Ninjas. This is where the majority of your students are going to be. And this is where they're having, obviously, a load of fun in this program, and they're collaborating, they're working together. This is called our Code Ninjas Create program. The Code Ninjas Junior program, we're not going to dive into that right now, but obviously that's there. If a 7-year-old comes in and is really kind of maybe not diving right into the Code Ninjas Create, you can put them into that Code Ninjas Junior program, get those skills developed, and they can jump right into the Create program and move through those beginning belts a little bit quicker. When it comes to camps and workshops, those are done whenever there's not school. So whenever there's not a school, when school's in session, you're doing your camps and your workshops. So it kind of gives you a little bit of camps and workshops. That curriculum is not connected to the Code Ninjas Create. These are all individual curriculums. They're all individualized. So the Code Ninjas Junior it's a skill set that learning, but it's not necessarily connected directly to the Code Ninjas Create. Same with the Pro, same with the camps and workshops. Those are all independent programs. So they're able to work through Code Ninjas Junior. They may be there for 6 months. They may be there for a year. And they can move on into the Code Ninjas Create program. So this gives you some insight, some ideas of what that curriculum looks like. We have a curriculum roadmap that you also can take a look at our Discovery Days. We dive in deeper. You have an entire hour that you're sitting and you're listening to our curriculum development team. There's a whole Q&A section inside Discovery Day as well. So really dive in and you get to see the vision. You get to understand a little bit of the finer points and more of the details of the curriculum itself. So this gives you some insight. When it comes to Code Ninjas and in terms of the support structure, we as a franchise have a living and breathing support structure. We use a variety of different tools to make sure that when you do have questions, you do have concerns, or you do need support, that there's a variety of different channels for you, whether it's peer-to-peer support with your franchisees, whether it's internal one-on-one support with our team inside the Code Ninjas corporate office, or if it's a general ticket item that needs to be addressed that doesn't have a huge sense of urgency, we're there for you as well. We've built all these tools internally. Now with having 200 locations open, from our digital marketing strategies to our support structure to our operations to compliance, it's becoming more and more streamlined, enabling you to take advantage of whether it be the systems in the past that have been sharpened to some of the hurdles that our franchisees have faced that we've overcome. You're able to learn from those best practices. So if you've listened to these calls in the past, you get an idea of this is what I've done for these calls, the first 15 or so minutes. And then I really open it up to you to be able to ask any questions you have. And if you listen to these calls in the past, you know that I keep going until your questions stop. When it comes to questions, could be about anything from markets in the UK to territories, how they work, to anything in the US, to the franchise agreement, to the franchise disclosure document, to understanding what your next steps would be, to any aspect of Code Ninjas itself. It's pretty easy how it works, the Q&A segment, and really how it is. And after you hit *6, it virtually raises your hand, and then I can unmute you, and you can ask whatever questions you have. And if I've done such a fantastic job where nobody has any questions, then we can wrap up today's call pretty quickly. And that happens sometimes where there's just not any questions, and other times we have an hour and a half worth of questions. So if you have a question, this is going to be your time. By hitting *6, it allows you to virtually raise your hand, and then I'll be able to unmute you, and you'll be able to ask whatever questions you have, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. So we have a question. Hi, you have a question?
Marty. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. It's very interesting. Very interesting what you guys are doing. And my name is Zishan. I go by Z, last letter of the alphabet. But really, the first question that I really wanted to know is what's kind of the next step? What's that process look like as far as finding a territory? How do we know? Obviously, I think once we get a little bit deeper, then we find out how the territory is purchased. But as far as location, do you guys assist with finding the location that's best suited?
Yeah, so we work with you individually when it comes to finding identifying your territory. So once we ID your territory, we have preferred vendors that you can work with for actually finding your actual location. And they also negotiate your leases with you. We as a franchise have a lease writer and everything already there for you. So it makes it pretty easy. And lease writers typically can replace an LOI, a standard LOI, but it gives you at least a lot of good information. And it all depends if you want to take advantage of the preferred vendors that we have in place. So they'll find your actual location inside the territory or around that territory that we help them with. There's a company called Morrow Hill and we work with them. They wrote over 1,500 leases last year from multiple different companies. So they very, very experienced and do a very, very good job with our franchisees. So we help identify that territory, and then they can do the rest from there if you choose to take advantage of that.
What's the normal territory cost?
Our franchise fee is our franchise fee. The franchise fee in the U.S. is $29,000, and the franchise fee in the U.K. is £24,000, and the franchise fee in Canada is $24,000 Canadian, or $24,000 U.S.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi, yeah. Looking at your website locations, the city that I'm in currently shows a coming soon location. How far in the process does that mean someone is for this city? And kind of what areas or how big is a geography is a typical area for one location? Kind of what criteria is considered when putting more?
Well, so when I say coming soon, that means that it is a signed and paid for franchise agreement. So they have a timeline to open. So when you see that, that means that somebody has paid their franchise fee, they signed their franchise agreement, paid their franchise fee, and they have a timeline to have that location open. So don't say the market, by the way, just keep that to yourself, and then work with somebody on my team about that market, because we have a multi-layered filtering system that we look at markets. We have internal and external matrices that we use to determine, what can be there, what's available, how far would you have to be from there. We work with you on all of that. So what I would suggest is with this situation is make sure that whoever's reached out to you on my team, if you're here in the U.S., it's probably going to be Mike Rodriguez or Jeff Thames. Make sure you work with one of those two, and they'll help you with seeing an opportunity if there's another opportunity in your market.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Hi, you have a question? Hello, do you have a question? Maybe I'm on mute.
Hi there.
Am I on mute?
Hi there.
Hi.
I think I'm off mute now. Sorry about
that.
No problem.
No problem. If you're in Minnesota, you're looking at snow like I am right now, so I would have it on mute too.
Yeah, I am in Minnesota. I'm not sure how you knew that, but just a couple follow-up questions. So you said it's $24,000 to open a franchise. Is that the annual fee, or is that just the buy-in?
And well, in the U.S., it's a $29,000 franchise fee.
Okay.
So it's $29,000 franchise fee for that. That secures your market.
Okay.
That secures your territory. Then obviously that's all your support and everything before you even generate $1 of revenue. That also is all your franchise support up until you're even open your doors for business. So if that's your franchise fee, and then on the ongoing is 8.25% is your ongoing royalty, franchise royalty.
Is that on revenue or operating margin, or what's that percentage on?
Franchises always operate out of gross.
Okay.
Yeah, if they operated out of net, then everybody would just pay themselves like $500,000 a year, right? And say, "Oh, I'm not making any money."
You make a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
Next question is, so that 8.2%, like, what does that cover? I guess, like, I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
There are other things that. What else could we end up having to pay you for potentially? Like, do you charge additional fees for like administrative assistance, or what exactly is covered in there? And maybe more importantly, what's not covered?
Yeah, well, so when it comes to, I have a pretty nice Excel pro forma, first of all. So I don't want you to have to remember everything on this, because I have a nice Excel pro forma that we share with you. And inside that Excel pro forma, all of the costs are built in terms of what's required costs. So required costs would be like franchise fee, like we just talked about. And then we have our web hosting. It's not even just a web hosting. It's your Office 365. Now, when I say Office 365, we know that's email, but what a lot of people aren't aware of is that's also, we have all of our internal tools built into that. So all of our conference calls, all of our podcasts, all of our videos, tons of documents, all of our collaboration tools are also all built into that. And that's $110 a month. And so anything up and beyond that is all going to depend upon your daily operations of your business. So when it comes to how much money you're going to be spending on marketing, or how much is going to be your rent, or how much we're going to be paying our team if we have a center director, to our code senseis. So, and this is all built into that Excel pro forma. So you're going to have your franchise required stuff that's going to be in there, and then you're going to have your, obviously, your everything else is that's going to work towards your BOE, your base operating expense, for your electrical and maintenance, and
Sure.
When it comes to all those little tiny things.
Sure. So one very specific one that comes to mind is support with hiring. I wouldn't know I don't know much about coding. I know that I don't know, so I would need, like, how do you guys support that process, and is that included?
Yeah. It's all supported. So we give you job descriptions. We give you team profiles. You do not have to be a coder or a programmer to run your Code Ninjas. Your number one responsibility is to deliver an exceptional experience, period. Number two is to coach and teach the Code Ninjas curriculum. So your number one responsibility for you and your team is to deliver that exceptional experience, and that's going to be different in a lot of areas, right? So that could be a geographical difference in that exceptional experience as well. When it comes to coaching and teaching the Code Ninjas curriculum, you do have a roadmap to follow there as well. So you are going to have like, for camps and workshops, you do have a guide that you would follow. When it comes to the Create program, your Code Senseis are doing the curriculum as well as working with the students. So you're not hiring a coder, 45-year-old coder to come and teach kids. We tried that, by the way. It is not successful. Obviously, we have a huge network of coders and programmers. So when we started Code Ninjas, that's what we started with. We did that. And it's not a successful way of doing it. Now, you might find a diamond in the rough out there, which is great. But the majority coders and programmers are not going to be in your environment teaching kids how to code. That's not going to be their strength.
Okay, so you basically take people with some kind of interest or some kind of.
This is what they want to do with their future. You're not going to have a kid who just went out and placed 19 different applications at Subways and restaurants and everywhere else, and then thought they'd just stop by a Code Ninjas. You're going to have kids come to you that are very specific about wanting to be a part of Code Ninjas. This feeds their future.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Are they usually like a local university, or like where do you find these people?
We give you. Yep. We help you with all of that.
But where do you find people? Like,
well, we share that with you. When you become part of the process, we help you understand exactly where to go. With over 200 locations open, I can tell you right now, I have yet to receive a complaint about somebody not being able to find Code Senseis. That's going to be your easiest part.
Would you say is it typically college students or
16 to 22 years old? In that age range. That's 16 to 22 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I guess you mentioned that pro forma Excel spreadsheet. Yep. I don't know if that's something that you'd be willing to share.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If whoever's reached out to you.
Better understand
whoever's already reached out to you, email, they'll make sure you connect with them, and they'll get you that for sure.
Okay. Thanks. That's it for me.
All right. The snow is supposed to stop in about an hour, so. Just a heads up.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah. I guess I missed the first couple minutes of this whole session, so I apologize if it's already been covered. But what's your typical time to from accepting the franchise thing or paying the franchise fee, whatever, from start to actually opening your doors on this process?
Yeah, sure. So after you've gone through the vetting process, right, because you're vetting us out at the same time we're vetting you out back and forth, right? So when that whole process is done and you become a franchisee, everything is good to go. You sign your agreement to the day you open is typically a 6 to 7 month period.
Okay.
Some have done it faster, and that's in the U.S. and Canada. So if you're listening in on the U.K., it's a different process out there, and you could do it a lot faster in the U.K. than the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, and I'm in California, so it's going to take even longer here just because,
it could,
California.
Yes. So we're going to want to do work up front, right? So don't tell me where you're at in California, but we're going to want to do work up front.
I'm not going to.
But as we're going through this whole process, we can get a lot of work done up front before you even become a franchisee, so it really keeps things in view for you. We actually would rather have you do that to be sure that you don't get a dragged out timeline. Believe it or not, the longest timeline out there is on the East Coast, not California. So
yeah, I believe that. I've lived out there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either. As far as profit return, I guess I'm sure you have a range just based on who's there and but what's kind of a minimum footprint you need to have, or population, subscribers, whatever you call these kids. I mean, there's certainly some numbers you have around that.
So this is a public platform. Yeah, so being this is a public platform, and a few states in our union don't allow me to talk about average revenue or average expense. I have to do that individually. So in the UK, it's much, much different. In the UK, folks, you not believe the advantage that they have compared to the US and Canada. I can actually show them live data. Their franchising laws are much different. So if you're listening in the UK, you have a huge advantage compared to the people in the US and Canada, because I can actually share live data in comparable markets. We're here in the US and Canada, I only can share what's in my item 19. And being that this is a public platform, I have to do that individually. So make sure you connect with one of my team members that's reached out to you. You can get that FDD. We can get you the Excel pro forma. You can actually see inside the item 19 the numbers, the average expense to the average revenue, some highs and lows. You get a better idea. And that's updated every March.
Gotcha. Okay, I have a call with Mike this afternoon. I'll cover that with him.
Oh, great. Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate any other questions. I don't want to cut you short.
I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as I'm on mute again, but I'll pound 6 and pop up.
Okay. Hi, you have a question? Hello, do you have a question?
Yes. I was calling to find out, I'm in my area, and there's a new shopping center that is being developed. Who finds the location of the franchisee?
So if you're a prospective franchisee and you're looking for a location, you'd either work with one of our preferred vendors or you would work with somebody locally. We give you that as an option.
Okay.
Okay. Is that the only question?
Yeah, that's the only question I had.
Okay. Hi, you have a question?
I want to know what's the average square footage for the space?
We have a range of anywhere from 1,600 square feet and up for the U.S. and Canada. Our average in the U.S. and Canada is about 2,000 square feet. If you're listening in the U.K., your spaces are a little bit smaller than that. So, but in the U.S. and Canada, you're looking at anywhere about 2,000 is average, but it could be as low as 1,600. We have a few of those out here as well.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for taking your time to jump on the call today. I appreciate it. My name, again, is Marty Flanagan, the Vice President of Franchising. If somebody on my team has not reached out to you, please email me, which is Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, @codeninjas.com. codeninjas.com. Please send me an email. I'll make sure I get you connected with one of my team members. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time today. And again, Marty at codeninjas.com. If you have any more questions, I'll do my very best to help and get you connected to a team member.